Okay, thank you, everyone. I'd like to call the Board of Finance Water Pollution Control Authority special meeting to order. If I could, Tom, I think that means you're the secretary.
My rates are reasonable.
It just occurred to me.
So,
So if we could have a roll call,
although they're both, but I'll just use this one anyway.
one's for one's for Board of Finance.
Yeah, but one of them still has Judy on here, so I think we printed an old one.
I blame Little Bree, he's not here.
Well, and Amy's still on here too, so.
Next in the agenda.
And I don't seem to have one that has WPCA on it, but we can certainly pretend. Yeah, they're both Board of Finance.
Okay, that's okay. Same group.
Okay, so we'll go down the agenda. Okay, so Judy, no. Tom Schulte here. Amy Carroll, no. Todd up
Here.
Michael Chen.
Now you're rolling.
Chris Labrise.
Not here, won't be here.
Victor Alvarez.
Here.
Maria Weingarten.
Here.
Robert Hamill.
Here.
Colm Dobbin.
Here.
James Yao.
Here.
I guess we go Nick Matrakis.
Here.
And anybody else?
No,
No, we got Bob. Is Jan here? No? Okay.
We need to seat Nick for Chris. We'll do that again in 30 minutes. We'll have the routine down by then.
Yeah.
You get that. All right, could I have a motion to seat Nick for Chris Labrie, please? Second? All in favor? Aye.
Yep.
Opposed? Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
We know who the secretary is going to be in the next meeting. Okay, with that, motion to approve the minutes from our July 9th meeting. Any questions?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Opposed? None? So moved. Okay. For the WPCA meeting that we have here, we have the sanitary sewer evaluation survey update. And I believe Maria is going to kick us off, and then Sarah is going to go through some things. Then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A.
Yes, exactly.
Fair enough. And then we have our next meeting at 7, so we should be good. Okay, over to you, Maria. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening. When we last met with you in July, we discussed coming back in the fall to provide an update of the Sanitary Sewer Evaluation Survey, the SSES program, and Sewer System Mitigation Implementation Strategy. The town's consultant, AECom, has prepared an update to present you tonight to apprise the WPCA on the process moving forward in the next several fiscal years. As a refresh, in fiscal year 24, AECom completed extensive fieldwork evaluations and prepared a draft report which included a summary of information gathered to date, recommendations for future evaluations, proposed measures to address potential defects in the system, and an engineer's estimate for a cost-effective strategy of accomplishing potential repairs within our right-of-way and town property. While the scope of the proposed investigations was divided across 4 fiscal years, fiscal year 24 through fiscal year 27, we have the opportunity after the first year of evaluations to begin targeted improvements within our sanitary sewer system. For example, pipe cleaning and root removals are standard maintenance measures within our budget, but using the guidance from AECom, we'll be concentrating these efforts with certain areas of our system. And last time in July, we also mentioned manhole covers and frame replacement. Going forward, though, beginning in fiscal year 26, we anticipate additional capital projects, including sewer pipe lining and sewer manhole repair. These implementation projects will occur concurrently with the final years of the sewer system evaluation investigations, including CCTV work. At this point, Sarah Bucci from AECom can better walk you through her presentation. Tiger and I are here to also support any questions that may come your way. And before we jump really into deep conversations after Sarah's presentation, I just wanted to touch base a little bit on development fees.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you all very much. I'm going to share my screen so that I have the presentation up. So just, the host has disabled participant sharing screen. Is
Okay,
it
just one
possible?
second. Yep, Tucker's going to do that in 1 second.
Not a problem. So thank you all for having me tonight. I'm going to make sure I keep this brief and to the point. We have compiled a large amount of data to get to these numbers. And I am now able to share my screen. So it should be coming up momentarily. And I'll set this in the presentation mode. There we go. All right. So here is our fall update about phase 1 sanitary sewer evaluation survey. And we're going to go over the high level analysis results and then discuss a plan for implementation going forward. In this investigation, which included town-wide smoke testing and concentrated manhole inspections in the sub areas which had been identified as the primary concerns for inflow in the II analysis, we identified approximately $200,000 worth of pipelining and approximately $1 million worth of manhole repair projects. There is an asterisk on the $200,000 pipelining. That asterisk is because if you observe on this figure where the yellow and black dotted lines are, they may not be easy to see. They are spread throughout the town, not in a cohesive, congruent package. We do anticipate identifying additional pipelining projects as we complete the CCTV inspection, which is where they send a camera through the pipeline and identify defects in the system without entering the sewer. It's the way that we investigate the sewer. And pipelining is one of the best trenchless repairs, so you do not have to dig it up. It's the least disturbance to the street, and it's one of the quickest repairs that's available today. This $200,000 worth of pipelining has an asterisk, not because we anticipate the more lining, which we do. It's because we would not be able to accurately price out the $200,000 as it is spread across the sewer area. It is $200,000 worth of pipelining if it was packaged with other projects in that area. And we'll discuss that further on the additional slides. So when we're talking about targeting future areas for repair, we would start with the areas that had been identified as having the worst inflow and infiltration projects in the II analysis. Congruently, and at the same time, the sewer department would initiate the preliminary recommendations that we identified from our field work this year. So we would start to see a ramp up in targeted repairs. So the things that have the worst problems would be addressed in the soonest manner possible. And the money that is already allocated to be spent on the system would get spent on the areas where the problems have been identified as being the greatest. This was a planning level investigation costs that were described in a draft from March 2023, where we talked about doing all of the smoke testing top to bottom in the collection system, and then rolling out subsurface investigation in the top areas the next year, and then combining additional manhole inspections and CCTV subsequent years for the other service areas. This was when we identified approximately $1.9 million worth of investigation to investigate the entire sanitary collection system. And so this is the investigation portion, which is described in the palest peach color on this implementation schedule. So similar to the previous page, we're showing 4 phases, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The investigation in peach is highlighted congruent with each of the next subsequent years. But what has been added to this view is a design and construction package. So keeping with the theme of the II analysis, the areas which had the most severe problems would take precedence, and the design would occur on in those areas, and in the areas that we would use results of the investigation which has already been done townwide from smoke testing and from the manhole inspections that have been done to be part of the design package that would then be set out to bid for a construction project. And the reason why the construction has been broken into 2 larger chunks instead of spread into smaller chunks has to do with the industry and what is happening in New England with the availability of sanitary sewer lining. The parent company of Insituform called Azuria has been making large purchases of additional companies, thus reducing the overall competition in the pipelining industry. That is to say, they are not as likely to bid on a $200,000 pipelining project as they would to bid on a $1.5 million pipelining project. The economies to scale and getting better price per linear foot for doing the lining project is the reason why, for planning level purposes, this has been shown, the work has been shown as 2 larger $1.5 million construction projects. That's also to say that we've currently identified approximately $1.2 million worth of construction, and we would anticipate 1.3, send the wrong part, $1.8 million worth of additional lining in the system to be identified during the CCTV inspections. That is my summary. And I know Maria has some more things to discuss about sewers.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, so as Sarah had mentioned, the idea is to divide in half the 2 capital projects. The idea that the first capital projects that we would be doing would be giving us the greatest return on our dollar, because it would be in the areas, as Sarah had mentioned, the regions where we're already noticing the most amount of inflow. And so before we get into too many questions here, we had mentioned earlier the concept of a development fee, something going forward in the future. And I do want to touch base upon that again. Based on the current dry weather flows to the wastewater treatment facility and applying an industry standard factor to project forward 20 years, the cost per gallon of flow per day is approximately $50. And as discussed before, we had recommended to the WPCA to consider the creation of a one-time fee that would be applicable to any project that proposes to increase sanitary sewer flows from their parcel. It would be based on a multiplier to the added gallons per day of usage. For example, an extra bedroom adds the potential of an estimated 150 gallons per day of flow into the system. Therefore, now this is just for an example only, because this deserves further discussion. But if you use that calculated operational cost of $50 per gallon, there could be a development fee of $7,500 per added bedroom. The one-time development fee would go to a fund that would address the future capital improvements to the sewer system facility. So the idea is that we would be helping support those future projects with this fund. So it's something for consideration. We just want to really kind of keep that as part of the discussion, and just wanted to throw that out there before we started.
Is that something
Questions?
you want to discuss as part of the budget when you come back in February?
Absolutely.
I would say we should do that. If we should at least have an analysis of it, and we should have that work done, an opinion from our point of view as to whether it should be a fee or not, and then if it's $50 and whatever that math may be. But I think that you're getting the conversation going. I think that's appropriate.
And this is just in the sewer district.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. All right, so now at this
Thank you for
point,
that.
I have a question.
sure.
So if we spend the $3 million, if and when we spend the $3 million on these improvements, and if we have another rainstorm similar to the rainstorm that we had on August 19th, would these improvements prevent the overflow of the sewage flowing into the sound?
So that is the intent. The intent is to mitigate the peaks of those wet weather conditions. Going to that August storm event, we had 2 hours where we were considered out of permit. And at that point in time, any reductions going forward is just going to reduce that time. That was recorded at over a 200-year storm event. But I know in my lifetime, I'm going to see another one.
That's my 5th one.
So that's why we're really pushing forward for these initiatives and to take the low-hanging fruit and put the first capital dollars towards the projects that would reduce it, because that is the absolute intent, is to avoid those situations.
So you're not saying it would definitely prevent it. You're just saying the probability that, or the time that it would be flowing into the sound would be decreased significantly, but you don't know if it would completely stop it.
So Sarah can probably touch base a little bit more on this, but based on the fact of the volumes that we were reading in the meters that were put in for 8 weeks, that they were directly correlated with peak inflows. And by addressing those issues in those areas, we would be reducing it. One thing that Sarah and I and Tiger have talked about is that after that first pass of capital improvements, that we would be doing the relining and the restructuring of the manholes. In those 2 regions, 8 and 9, which are kind of our worst offenders, we would actually go back and put our flow meters back in order to put them back in the same manholes that they were originally put in. We put them in for the same amount of time, and we would be able to do an apples to apples comparison to understand what that improvement is. And so that's kind of like our steps forward in order to hit those goals.
And just
Victor's question, we don't know that this would have helped us avoid that for sure. I mean, it seems like it's a math question, but we don't know that these improvements will provide a certain additional capacity, and would that have offset what we went and overflowed? I think that was your question.
Capacity as much as the storm water would not have entered our system. And that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. Oh, it would have been preventive, right? Okay.
It would have a
So quickly,
positive,
we'll reduce the
positive effect. We just can't tell you for certain that it would, it would solve the entire problem. We can't for that, but we can tell you that it will have a positive effect.
and I add this page up. The last page is 5 million, right?
5.3.
Just want to make sure everyone knew that there's 2. No?
No.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, when one of these events happens, how long does it take for the system to sort of reset itself? Like if there's another storm 2 days later or a week later, are we reset back to our starting point, or does it take several days for the sewer system to kind of absorb the effects of the big first storm? Sorry.
Sure.
takes us approximately a week to then push everything, to actually push everything back through, because we open up everything that we have. So we take in everything that we possibly can, fill it to the brim, and then it takes about a week for us to then push that and get it back, where we could then take another hit, so to speak. Now, and a week is a little nebulous. It's more like 4 to 7 days for us to be able to then get back to normal, depending upon residual flows, things of that nature.
Okay, so that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Yeah.
Other questions? Anything for Sarah?
Actually, are there other things that could be done that aren't part of this plan that would decrease the probability of that happening?
So,
Yeah.
Good, Sarah.
I'll pose that to Sarah.
when discussing manhole and pipeline type of repairs, it is, I will tell you the industry standard and then I will tell you my experience. The industry standard is to assume that all of the inflow can be removed, and is to assume that half of the infiltration can be removed. The reason why that is the industry standard, to say that half of the infiltration can be removed, is because of the nature of water always being opportunist, and once you plug up one area, the groundwater tends to attack the next weakest point. So that is the reason why the industry standard says to apply a 50% factor on the amount of infiltration you can remove. However, we know, because we've been discussing it, inflow is our primary problem here in Canaan. I will not promise that all of the inflow can be removed for two factors. A large amount of the inflow can be removed and can be kept completely out of the sewer. However, I would not say all, because there are political factors. Once you start addressing inflow from individual homeowners, it can become a difficult situation. And the other factor is there has to be some amount of sewer venting, simply to prevent corrosion issues at the top of your line. So plugging up, sealing up most of your sewers is fantastic. Allowing an amount to vent is also best practice. I feel like there was a second part to that question. Is there something else that we can be doing? Yes. Okay, so there are any number of things that can be done. What can be done and what should be done and what's affordable to be done are all valid questions. Some of the things that can be done, some of the things that have been done in neighboring towns, is requesting homeowners to install infiltration systems to accommodate their rainwater that comes off of their roof, if they're going to do a huge paved area. That has been done in neighboring towns. I'm not saying that that's something that is necessary. I'm saying that that is something that has been decided is necessary in other places, though.
Maria, and Tiger, what are the next steps here? Are you going to put together a set, maybe picking up on that point, there are probably some best practices or some other things that we can embed? Does this come back to us as a report and a budget request? We're not voting on any money tonight. So where are we in that process?
So a final report is being generated, and that
Okay.
is something that we are going to publish well, through AECOM, but we'll publish on our website, and we'll be sharing with the community. Currently, right now, and this is our second year of our evaluation, we're also going to, at the same time as the evaluation, which the CCTV work in those sections that Sarah mentioned, we're also going to start doing our root cleaning, excuse me, and heavy duty cleaning in certain areas that Sarah has already identified based on the analysis that we're at today. And then there's going to be the idea of going forward with a scheme, once we get this evaluation, the CCTV work, for what the design is involved with that, and that's kind of what's listed, that 150,000 number. So then next fiscal year 26, we can actually start to do the lining work and the manhole repair work in the areas that we have targeted, knowing based on this year's CCTV work.
Okay, well, one of the reasons I ask is everyone remembers, one of the reasons we asked for all this field work and this analysis, because it would lead to a number of areas where we wanted to have some analysis and some follow-up in terms of the risks we were having and the challenges we were facing, because we were getting to these limits and we were concerned about then adding any capacity or demand developments or whatever the case may be that could cause more demand on the system. And one of those areas, as you all know, is Kelly Green. So I guess I would ask that when you come back, we need to have a point of view on what we need to do there, what a feasibility study on if we're starting to be able to lower the water level a little bit, or is there ability to add some capacity? We need an assessment, maybe an evaluation, and we can discuss this jointly with the town council. So that should be part of the thinking as you go through these next steps.
With that, I think we've touched upon this as well. It will necessitate modifications to the WPCA's sewer use rules and regulations, but we can talk further.
Yeah, well,
about
that's
that.
part of it. Connectivity is part of it. The infrastructure, health. I understand that, but we need to get the conversation going now, and we'll see where it takes us. Okay. Any other questions? Team? Nothing. Sarah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Maria, thanks as always. Tiger?
Thank you.
If we're all set, we'll have a motion to adjourn the WPCA. Maria, second. Nick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none? So be it. So